we go. Okay, good morning and welcome to Not Your Daughter's Yoga on someday in February, someday in the first week of February. I don't know what day it is anymore. Yeah, so we'll start practice on our mat. So you can make your way to your mat and gently lower yourself down onto your back. As you do so, just keeping in mind your options. So you have the option to lay down and stretch out. You have the option to plant your feet and then allow your knees to relax in towards each other. No matter which option you pick, just pick up your hips ever so slightly off the mat and then settle them back down so that you have room and your lower back is feeling nice and comfortable. And once you've sort of landed and you've come to the right place for you on your mat, you can relax your gaze and close your eyes and just be for a second. Just be. Notice where you are in space and time. And ask your mind to pause. Sometimes that can be the hardest part, is allowing our mind to catch up with our body and realize that we're going to take a moment of stillness here. So let your mind catch up. You've made time for yourself to be on your mat, to do good things for yourself, to attend to your needs, and everything else can wait until you're done. So with that in mind, let's take some resetting breaths. So inhaling through the nose, take a nice big deep inhale, filling all the way to the top, and then pause, holding that breath in for a moment. And as you exhale, feel busyness and preoccupation and intention just leaving with it. You're letting go of what you've been carrying through your day up until now, and you'll put it aside for later. So again, inhale through the nose, hold for a moment, exhale, let it go. We're going to take one more big breath. This is the biggest one yet. So I want you to really inhale, filling from the bottom of the lungs, slowly, 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 filling all the way up. You're going to hold it at the top. And with this one, I want you to exhale everything. Let any tension that's in your body go. Let any tension that's occupying your mind go. Just give yourself permission to be here in this moment without worrying about anything else. Sometimes that can be the hardest part of taking care of ourselves. And once you've done that, you can begin to cultivate your practice breath. So you're going to inhale through the nose to the count of 4. Pause. Exhale through the nose to the count of 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Pause. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Pause. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Pause. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Pause. Find the rhythm that works right for your body. Deepen it. Make it slow. Make it full breath. And really try and smooth it out. You're putting your entire focus on the breath at this moment. Keeping your mind on the breath. I know it might seem like a small detail, but it's actually a very large building block on which we build our practice, is this breath. So it's important to establish it as you come onto your mat before you add in movement. Take a few more big breaths, making them nice and smooth, flowing effortlessly. If you like, you can swirl your throat at the swirl your breath at the back of your throat. Makes a little hissing now sound, ujjayi breath. Really focus on what you're doing for a couple more breaths. And now that we've begun cultivating our breath, let's add in a little bit of gentle movement. So inviting some motion into your body. So you might like to begin by just gently rocking your hips. And you could gently tilt your head side to side, maybe in tandem with your hips. You could wiggle fingers and toes. And then point and flex the feet while you simultaneously make fists and release. Keeping that breath moving, not losing that. And then I invite you to take a nice big stretch. Getting really nice and long. And then gently rolling over onto your right side. And we'll just take a pause there for a couple of breaths. Allows you to get your bearings. And then gently bring yourself upright to a comfortable seated position. So for a practice today, I thought we would use the strap. We will use the block, but I'll also offer you at the end of class the opportunity to do Shavasana with legs up the wall, or alternatively, you can do legs up on the furniture. So if you have a couch or a chair about yay height, you'll be able to put your legs up comfortably resting on that. It's just a nice passive way that we can practice an inversion at the end of class, and you can really allow yourself to be passive and to just absorb the benefits of that without having to put in a ton of effort. Inversions kind of go from very laid back, legs up the wall, to standing on your head or your hands. We're not going there. All right, so bring yourself up to a comfortable seated position. As you do so, you can scoop out the flesh from underneath your sits bones. Make sure you're sitting nice and tall. Your legs can be crossed or stretched out in front of you, whichever you prefer. And to start, we'll just imagine that there's an invisible thread pulling you straight up from the top of your head. So you're sitting very nice and straight. On an inhale, you can tilt your chin up and gently gaze upward. Exhale, bring the chin back through center and bring it down to your chest. Inhaling, gazing up, just respecting the natural range there. Exhale, and bring the chest back, the head back through center. Inhale, chin tilts up. Exhale, chin down to the chest, and then take circles with the head and neck in whichever direction you prefer first, making them nice and slow and coordinating that movement with a nice, slow, deep breath. You can pause anywhere that you feel like you'd like to just hang out and work it out. And When you're feeling ready, take it in the opposite direction. And bring the head back to center. We'll bring the left hand down to the mat, walk it out to the side. Right arm is going to reach up and over. Make sure that you keep that right hip really firmly in contact with your mat, and then you're reaching up and over in the opposite direction. The right side of your rib cage is getting really long and open. Hand is active. We try not to have droopy hands. It's a bit like dance class that way. You want to keep your hand active. Good engagement. Breathe into those ribs. And exhale, coming back up. We'll take the right hand down, walk it out to the side, reaching up and over. Again, keeping that left hip firmly planted on the mat. Active hand, reaching up and over. Relax the head and neck. Big breaths, expanding the ribs. And coming back up to center, we'll take a seated twist. So if you prefer with your legs outstretched, you can do this cross-legged as well. So right leg goes long, right toes are straight up, fist width between the leg and the planted foot, and then bringing the right hand to the outside of the right knee, the outside of the left knee, right hand behind. Inhale to get tall. Exhale, twisting to the left. Reminding yourself, hey, don't lead with the head and neck. Let the twist come from the base of the spine. As you exhale, let yourself soften into that. And you can unwind, and you could take this cross-legged or switch it up. Just make sure that the straightened leg is always rolled up and in so that your toes aren't hanging out to the side. So bringing the left hand to the outside of the right knee, right hand behind. Inhaling, getting tall. Exhaling, twisting to the right and relaxing the head and neck. Again, feeling the twist coming from the base of the spine and just letting yourself soften into it. Last breath. And exhale and come back to center. So we'll grab our strap at this point and do a little bit of work on the shoulders. I didn't have mine last week, but I'm more prepared today. So arms coming out wider than shoulders. Mine are quite wide, and I like to start quite wide because I never quite know how my shoulders are going to feel on any given day. So I suggest you keep your arms fairly wide for your initial lift. So sitting up nice and tall. Inhale the arms up overhead. On your exhale, attempt lowering them back. They may come all the way back. They may just hang out. On the inhale, bring your band up over top and exhale it in front of you. And depending on how that went, you may want to keep your arms the same, wider or maybe narrower. So I can bring mine in a little. Inhale up. Exhale, sending that back. Maybe it comes down behind you, maybe not. Doesn't matter whether it does or not. Inhale, bringing it back up overhead. And exhale in front. And again, adjusting as is necessary if you so desire. One last time. Inhale it up. Exhale it back. I'm just going to hang out here because this feels really nice. Stay for breath. And then inhale it up. And exhale forward. We're going to bend our knees and place our feet in front of us, and you can just bring that strap around the balls of your feet and then straighten your legs out. Your feet are really active here. Your toes are peeling back toward you. And we're sitting up really nice and tall. So check that posture, make sure you're sitting tall, and then you can take the straps, both ends of the strap in one hand, and you can begin to gently walk your hands down the strap. And you don't have to come far at all. I just want you to come to a place where you start to feel engagement. It could be through your legs or it could be in your back. So starting to feel that engagement, just saying hello. The strap is just a nice complement to this because it lets us be really quite passive. Keeping that breath moving. And exhale, we'll take the strap off and set it off to the side. We'll bring our hands out to either side of us, and we're going to come into boat. So if you know that you prefer the stability of having your hands at your sides, you can keep them there. So we'll point the feet and draw the shins up. And once they're up, it's your choice. You could flex your feet or point your feet. I find flexing is easier for me to keep my abdominals engaged, which is what we want here. And then as your balance allows, you may bring your arms up beside your legs. Hands, again, like jazz hands, super active. And just breathing deeply here. And not becoming perturbed if you feel shaking here. If your legs are shaking, if your abdomen's shaking, that's good. That means that you're making new neural connections between your muscles and your brain. That's awesome. You like a little shake. Tell yourself that. One more breath. And exhale, you can bring your feet down and we'll bring our legs around to come onto hands and knees. So I'm going to take a neutral tabletop position here. So knees below hips, wrists are below the shoulders. If your wrists are giving you a bit of trouble, set them about 6 inches further forward. But otherwise, coming to a neutral tabletop position. Engage the lower belly so that the small of your back is flattened out. And then we'll take our cat and cow. So for cow, we want to dip the belly, raise the hips, head goes forward, and maybe the chin tilts up. Exhale, moving in the opposite direction. Head and hips fall down. I shouldn't say fall down, but they come down, pushing up between the shoulder blades. Inhale, belly down, hips and head come up. Exhale, reversing that motion. Inhale, coming through to cow. Exhale to cat. Really pushing up between the shoulder blades. I mean, if you just want to hang out here for a whole round of breath, go for it. The idea is to move slow and really enjoy the feeling of movement in your spine. So that means if you want to add in some lateral movement like I'm doing, absolutely go for it. Take 2 more slow rounds of cat and cow with your own breath. Make it as funky as you like. And then once you finish, we'll all meet back up in a neutral tabletop position. We'll turn our toes under. We'll do a little foot stretch here. So we're going to turn our toes under. Walk your hands back in the direction of your knees. So this already might be quite an intense foot stretch for you. So if you want to, you can stay right here. If you like, you can bring yourself up upright. And if you're there, we can add in a wrist stretch as well. So put your right arm forward with your fingers up. Left hand reaches up and over. Gently draw your right fingertips back while pushing, really actively pushing the heel of that hand forward. Breathing into that. And then we're going to flip that hand over and push the wrist forward while drawing the fingers back. So going in the opposite direction here, and you should feel a nice stretch along the top of the lower arm. And release. We can shake that out. Bring your hands down. We're going to release the foot stretch for a moment too. So you can just gently flutter your feet on your mat to release that. Oh, that feels nice. And now we'll take round two. So walking the hands back again. And if you'd like to come upright, you can put the left arm forward, left fingers up, right hand reaches up and over, gently drawing the left fingertips back while pushing the heel of the hand forward. And then turning the hand over, and this time pushing the wrist forward. And again, you can shake that out and walk the hands forward. Again, flutter those feet on the mat. And then we'll head to our version of downward facing dog. So you may be turning your toes under once more, setting the hands about a foot further ahead of where they were, and opening the heart toward the ground, letting the head and neck relax. So this is your kneeling downward facing dog. If you're coming into the standing version, hike the hips up and back, coming onto the feet. In either case, really aim to open your chest toward the ground. If you're on your feet, huddle it out. So gently getting some length in the back of those legs. Always want to be really gentle the first few times you come into downward facing dog. Big breaths here, letting the head and neck relax. This is a good place to check in with your breath. Just notice how it's moving, smooth it out. Stay for 2 more breaths. On your exhale, gently walk or come onto your feet at the top of your mat. And we're going to meet up in a forward fold. So feet are now hip width apart. There's a gentle bend in the knees, and you can cradle the arms one in the other, coming into ragdoll. So you can begin to add a little bit of movement. There's a little breeze stirring. You can just gently sway. And then depending how you're feeling today, you might be feeling a stronger breeze. You might be adding in a little bit of a bounce movement. And then you can bring your hands onto your shins. We're going to inhale, come halfway up to flat back. Exhale, fold. And then we're going to inhale, and I want you to slowly roll. So putting a big bend in the knees and slowly roll your way all the way up to stand, and feeling your vertebra stacking one over the other in their proper order until you come upright, shoulders down away from the ears, standing tall. Inhale the arms overhead. You can gaze up if you wish. Exhale, forward fold, swan dive down. Hands come down to the mat. Inhale, we're going to come halfway up, so hands to shins, coming to flat back. Exhale, hands come down to the mat again. Step both feet to the back of the mat, and then lower onto the knees, untuck the toes. So coming into your plank position, make sure your wrists are under your shoulders and that your bum is tucked down. So if you feel like your bum's out, just tuck it in so you're making a straight plank. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, squeeze your elbows in. lowering all the way down until finally the forehead comes down. Your hands are below your shoulders and they're just gently resting. So on the inhale, we're going to inhale the chest, neck, and finally the head up. Exhale, bring everything down. Coordinate it with the breath. So inhale, rising up for cobra. Exhale, head comes down. One more time. Inhale, rising up for cobra, lifting from the lower back. Exhale, head comes down. We'll turn the toes under, push back up onto your knees, and then finding your way to your version of downward facing dog. So that could be the kneeling version or the standing version. In either case, your hands are super powerful. Fingers are splayed, chest opening toward the ground. If you're on your knees, I want you to imagine that you're pushing your knees and your hands in an opposite direction, like you're trying to tear your mat apart. So really increasing the engagement there from this kneeling version. If you're standing, do your thing, pedal it out, open that chest. Stay for 2 breaths. And then make your way onto your feet. Coming to the top of the mat in forward fold. Hands to the shins, inhale, come halfway up. Exhale, fold, and then inhale, rolling all the way up to stand. Hands come to heart center. Beautiful. We're going to bring the feet together in a pigeon-toed stance. So the heels will stay narrow hip width apart, but the toes are going to come in. So they're touching basically. So standing nice and tall, we're going to inhale the hands overhead. Exhale, sit your bum down in an imaginary chair. So your feet are going to shift a little bit here, and that's why we pigeon-toed them, so that your knees aren't completely mashing into each other. So coming into that invisible chair, big breath here. If arms up gives your shoulders trouble, you can bring your hands onto your shoulders. Big breaths. Really breathe it loud. One more breath. Exhale, forward fold, and straighten your feet out here. And we're just going to hang out in this forward fold for a second. I'll invite you to take an add-on if you're comfortable with it. Place your left hand at the center of your feet, so right below your face. Inhale the right arm up and open your chest toward the right. So optional twist here. If you took the twist, exhale, coming down. And then you can place the right hand right below your face. Inhale, left arm up and open the chest toward the left. And if you took that twist, bring it back down. Hands come onto the shins. Inhale, come halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. And then roll all the way up to stand. Nice and slow. Exhale, hands to heart center. Beautiful. Inhale. Hands overhead. Exhale, swan dive forward. Bring your hands onto the mat, so fingertips down. Bend in both knees, and then we're going to inhale that right leg up behind us, extending it like you're making yourself into the letter T. Hold for a breath here. On your exhale, really deeply bend the left leg and send the right foot to the back of the mat. So coming into a lunge, make sure that your feet are on 2 separate tracks. So if you have to move them in opposite directions, go ahead and do that. So we're going to come into a lunge here. There is an option to place the knee down ahead of time if that feels more secure to you. In either case, bring your left hand onto your left thigh and then bring the right hand onto the right thigh. And we're going to come upright. So you can have the knee down or you can be standing. Inhale, the arms come up overhead. Gaze gently upward, coming into our crescent lunge. No matter where you are, bring your hands back down to the thigh, and then you can bring them back down to the ground. And this time we'll all come down onto the knee. So you can bend the right side of your mat over, bring your right knee down if it isn't already down, and untuck the toes. Again, we'll bring the hands onto that left thigh. Now, make sure that you move that left ankle out well ahead of the knee so that you have room to lunge forward and down. As well, you might want to grab your block before you go anywhere so that your block is there to meet you. So getting nice and tall. Inhale. On your exhale, gently allow your hips to sink toward the earth. So staying upright like this, there's no need for you to go beyond this. I really like hanging out here, so you're welcome to hang out exactly like this. Other options, bringing both arms on the inside of the left leg. Your hands can come onto your block, or they could come down onto the floor. If you would like to come down further onto the forearms, I'll ask you to move your left foot. So put it on a 45-degree angle. I know it's hard to see here. So put your foot on a 45-degree angle and pick your toes up. So that foot is really flexed. Then if you wish, you could proceed down with the forearms on the block or with the forearms on the floor. Just make sure that your hips are staying relaxed. And if at any point you're just like, this ain't working for me, just come back a step. Finding a place where you can just settle in and focus your attention inward on your breath. So another good place to just notice the breath, slow it down, smooth it out. Now, I'll invite everyone to, if you're down on your forearms or if you're up on your thigh, bring your hands to your block. So coming down a little bit, you're going to keep your right hand firmly planted on the block. I want you to bring your left hand to the inside of the left knee. And then from there, you can allow the weight of that hand to gently rock the left knee out. I should have done the other side first because it's hard to see here. We're just opening that left hip just a little bit. If that's not working for you, you absolutely are under no obligation to go there, but just something to explore is you can open that hip there. If you're there, stay for one more breath. Exhale and release. And now we're going to back our hips up. Bring both hands onto the left thigh again. We're going to come fully upright. And I want you to pick up those left toes. So your heel stays resting on the mat, but your foot is straight up and your toes are really actively peeling back toward you. You can keep your hand on the left thigh. And then we're going to walk the hands toward the foot. And again, this is a place where you can use your block. Just make sure that you keep your left arm on the outside of that left leg so that you're not blocking yourself off. So coming into a little runner stretch here. Really actively keeping those left toes engaged. Breathing into it. One more breath. And on your exhale, you can gently draw that left foot back, and we'll unfold our mat and get ourselves organized for the other side, taking an optional child's pose here. So your toes come back together under your hips, and you can walk your forehead down to the mat. Arms are outstretched, coming into a nice little child's pose here. Again, slow the breath down, smooth it out. If you're feeling more energetic today, you could go up in a downward facing dog and hang there for a couple of breaths. Last breath. And then we're all going to make our way up onto our feet at the top of the mat and roll up to stand, and we'll get ready to take it on the other side. So feet narrow, hip width apart, standing nice and tall. Inhaling the arms up overhead, gently gaze up. Exhale, forward fold, big bend in the knees. We're going to bring the hands down to the mat. This time we're going to lift the left leg behind us and extend it. Toes are flexed, so coming into that T shape. Inhale here. Exhale, send that foot to the back of the mat, and then make sure that your right foot and your left foot are on two separate tracks for stability. We will grab our block and have it ready for when we need it. So your choice, you could start with your knee down and do the entire lunge from the knee down, or you could be in a standing lunge, in which case bring the hands onto the right thigh. Coming upright, get your balance, and then ready, inhale, arms up overhead, coming to our crescent lunge, gently gazing skyward. One more breath. Exhale, hands come back to the thigh, and then we will all meet up with the knee down. So you can fold the left side of your mat over and then bring that knee down. Have your block ready by your right instep. And then once again, bring yourself upright and make sure that the right ankle, you sneak it forward so you have room to lunge down. So inhale, thinking about getting tall. Exhale, gently sinking the hips forward and down. Coming to the first stop on the lunge train. This is a great place to be because you have your entire mass here basically to encourage the hip opening. Continuing on, if you so desire, both arms come to the inside of the right knee and could come down onto the block or come down onto the floor. If you desire to come down onto forearms, make sure that you pick up those right toes, set that foot on a 45-degree angle. You can put it down, but keep those toes curled up to protect your knee. And then you could continue onto your forearms on the block or forearms all the way down on the floor. So coming into your version of a lunge, whatever one that is working for you on this side today, because some days the sides are completely different and what you need on each side is going to look different. Taking a few really nice big breaths here. And then we're going to get ready to come up. So you can bring your hands onto that right thigh again, bringing yourself upright. And then we're going to continue to back the hips up until we come upright. Slide the right heel forward while drawing the toes back so that we can come into our runner's stretch. So once you're there, using your hands on your thigh to come forward. And you can have your block ready by the inside of your right foot. Just make sure that if you're coming down, you keep your arm on the outside of the leg rather than bringing it to the inside with the lunge. With the runner stretch, you want to keep the arm on the outside, nice and stable, peeling those toes actively back toward you. That's really the entire secret, is just active toes here. Breathing into it. One more breath. And as you exhale, you can draw that right foot back beside the left. Again, we'll set the block off, organize our mat. And again, your choice. You can come straight into a downward facing dog or take the closed-kneed version of child's pose. So knees together, hips are on the heels, bringing the forehead down to the mat, arms stretching forward. Perhaps you bring your hands to prayer and bring them onto the back of your head. Just an option. No matter where you are, notice your breath. Slow it down and smooth it out. And we're going to get ready to come onto our feet at the top of the mat. So whether you're in child's pose or downward facing dog, bring your feet to the top of the mat and roll up to stand. And we'll move ourselves into a sideways orientation on the mat so that we can take some wider leg postures. Feel free to also take a hydration break. So coming into wide-legged forward fold, just shimmy your feet out. You can bring your hands onto your hips, finding a place where you feel like there's challenge, there's engagement here, but also that you feel secure. So the outsides of your feet are driving down into your mat so that you've got really good grip. So getting tall. Inhale, on your exhale, hands right here at the hips, keeping your torso long, coming into your forward fold. If you wanted, you could have your block ready. I should have cued that ahead of time. You could have your block ready and come onto the block, or your hands could be on your thighs, around your calves. Coming into a nice wide-legged forward fold. Taking it really easy right now. Just allowing our body to acclimatize to this. Want to be gentle with our hamstrings. On your next exhale, I want you to come halfway up so that you're coming to that flat back again, like your coffee table. Take an inhale here. Exhale, come back down into your fold and maybe see if this time you can be a little more engaged. So you could use your hands on your calves to draw your chest underneath you, or you could walk your hands on your mat back underneath you. Just getting a little bit of engagement there. Keep the breath moving. One more big breath. On your exhale, slowly rolling upright. Hands can come onto your hips, and then we'll heel toe our feet in. So they're about 2.5 feet apart, and toes are out on a 45-degree angle. We're going to come into goddess. So arms come out into a T, bend at the elbows, and then palms face your head. So as always, inhaling, thinking about getting tall. On your exhale, sink your hips toward the ground. So like you're sitting in an invisible chair again, only this time you're on the subway and you're totally man-spreading. Even though this is goddess. We should call it goddess spreading. All right, breathing here. This is a big power pose. Make your breaths loud. You can sigh it out if you want. Two more breaths. One more. Exhale, rising up to stand. Hands can come to your hips and walk it in a little bit more. Really well done. That's a big amount of work, but it's really good for us. We're going to take a balancing pose. So if you want the support of a chair or a wall, go ahead and move yourself now, and we'll set up for that balance. So feet narrow hip width apart, standing nice and tall. Your hands can come to your hips, and just feel your balance. Just feel that sweet spot, not too far forward, not too far back. Train your gaze on a point a few meters ahead of you that's not moving. Could be on the floor, on your wall, whatever works for you. So find that non-moving point. Once you've found it and you've just let your gaze kind of zone out there, you can transfer your weight onto your left foot. Inhale the right leg up, exhale that knee to the side, and then plant that free foot anywhere but on your knee. So either above the knee or below the knee, just not on the knee. As you do that, squeeze your bum, engage your core, hands come to heart center. Keep that gaze zoned out on that one very banal, very unmoving point. And then once you're in tree, explore growing the tree and seeing where it's going this week. No two trees are ever alike, ever, ever, ever. You can gently bring your hands back towards center and then down to the hips. We're going to inhale that free leg forward, extend it out, breathe it up for a breath, and then lower it slowly and with control. Beautiful, good work. And shake out the standing leg, and we'll get ready to grow a tree on the other side. So again, finding that sweet spot in our balance, finding that very boring spot to stare at with your vision, your drishti, which sounds much more exotic and exciting. Transfer your weight onto your right foot. Inhale the left leg up, exhale that knee to the side, and again, plant the foot anywhere above or below the knee, just not on the knee. Squeeze your bum, engage your core. Hands come to heart center. Finding our stability, and then growing your tree on this side. I've got a shaky tree this week, but that's okay because trees shake and they sway. Sometimes they fall. In our case, we're trees that can get back up again. And you can bring your hands towards heart center and then down to the hips. We're going to inhale the free leg forward, extend it out, breathe it up, and then lower slowly with control. Good work. You can shake out the standing leg. And we're going to prepare to come down into squat. So your options are to bring yourself down onto your seat ahead of time. You can bring yourself down onto the block ahead of time, or you can come from standing. I'm going to start from standing this week. So feet are wider than hip width. Toes are out on a 45-degree angle, no matter where you're starting from. Thinking about getting tall, or if you're on your seat, think about sitting tall. Inhale. Exhale, begin to sink slowly and with control. So once you're down, if you came from standing, you might want to just shuffle around just a bit and find some room in those hips. And then once you're ready, bring the backs of your arms to the insides of the knees, and then take hands into prayer to encourage hip opening. Once you're there, make sure that you're not curving in toward yourself. So try and remind yourself to get broad and tall. You may wish to gaze slightly upward. And once you're there, just allow yourself to breathe and stay with it. Noticing sensation as it arises and just allowing it to be. Take 3 more slow breaths. And after your third breath, if you're not already down, bring yourself down onto the ground. Set your feet a little bit further forward of where they were, and you can bring your toes back in line with your shins. You can clasp one arm on the other or keep the hands down for balance. And we're just gonna do that little roll up onto the hip. Come through center and then roll up onto the other hip. Just enjoying a nice hip release while simultaneously getting a little bit of massage to the outside of the hip flexors. And then we can come back to center. So bringing the feet together, sitting upright, we'll come into a very relaxing forward fold. So you can wrap your arms underneath your thighs, bring your torso in the direction of your thighs, and then allow your head to relax. So just enjoying this very restorative forward fold. And you can stay exactly here. If you're into a more active forward fold, you could bring your arms out from underneath you, extend the legs long and engage those toes, peeling them back toward you, and then continuing to fold. Definitely totally optional to do this. If you're enjoying restorative, then just stay right there. Stay for 2 more breaths. And then bring yourself upright. If you extended your legs long, plant the feet again. Allow the knees to come out to the sides. Your heels are quite a ways away from you. So you're not doing that sort of cobbler stretch. Your heels are far away, so you're making a big diamond with your legs. And as always, you're going to get tall. And then I want you to think of it bringing your torso up and out as you come forward and coming into an outer hip stretch. Again, you might not need to come very far to get into this one to begin to feel engagement in the outside of the hip flexors. And then you can bring yourself back upright. Now take another wide-legged forward fold. So bringing your legs into a V, and just sort of, you may need to play around with what feels right for you, the width. So just finding a place that feels right. Again, sitting up nice and tall. And you can use your block for this as well, bringing yourself forward. Make sure that you keep those feet really active and your toes are always peeling back toward you. So coming into your version of the seated wide leg forward fold. If you're like me, I like to use my hands to encourage my legs out a little bit because I find that on my own, I'm not really able to do that. Your mileage may vary. Doesn't really matter where you end up, just as long as those feet are flexed. And you can bring yourself back upright. We'll take the right hand, I guess the left hand. We'll take the left hand onto the shin. I can't find the words today. And then your right hand up and over and extending in the direction of that left foot. So just coming into a nice side stretch, much like we did at the beginning of class, but instead of having the legs relaxed out, we're in a wide-legged fold. And then coming back up to center. And this time we'll bring the right hand down and the left arm arches up and over. Again, keeping that hand really active. Taking a little side stretch here. And then bringing it back to center. We'll have our block ready for when we come into bridge. If you're not lengthwise on your mat, bring yourself lengthwise. Now, feel free to take a hydration break here because I know I am. So we'll plant the feet ahead of us, knees are bent. Take a hold of the shins with your hands. Inhale, drawing the chest forward, turning the gaze skyward, coming into a little baby back bend here. On your exhale, allow your spine to slide back, coming into a little baby cat. Inhale, bringing the sternum up, gazing up, coming back to that little baby back bend. And then exhale to neutral back, release your hands from your shins and lower yourself back with as much control as you can muster. So see how long you can prevent yourself from falling back until finally you can't control the descent anymore. So coming onto the back, we'll get ready for bridge. I'll offer two options today. So the first option, everyone's going to take active bridge and then take a nice restorative version of bridge. But I will offer a little bit of a tutorial on shoulder stand for those who are interested in shoulder stand. If that's not in your repertoire ever, no big loss, don't worry about it. So preparing for our active version of bridge, bring the hands down by the hips. Your feet are planted just below the hips. Head is looking straight up. Inhale to prepare. On your exhale, push your hips up toward the sky. So really strong feet here and really pressing down with the backs of the upper arms. With each exhale, see if you can push those hips a little bit higher. See if you can get a little higher. 3 more breaths. 2 more. 1 more. Get those hips as high as they can be. And exhale. Bring your hips back down to the ground. Gently windshield wiper the knees back and forth. Releasing the lower back. And we'll get ready for restorative bridge. So have your block ready. by your hips, setting up, head looking straight back up again. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, pushing those hips skyward, really powerful feet pushing down. And then you can take your block and put it underneath you. So just above your bum, but below your mid back, there's sort of a nice flat triangular plane there. You can settle your lower back down onto the block, not putting your whole weight on it until you find just the right positioning for your block. But then once you're there, you can allow yourself to become really passive. So hands and feet get a break here, and we're just letting gravity do the work. So you can stay exactly like this. You may wish to explore walking your feet out away from the block and deepening the lower back extension. Some people really enjoy this. Some people, it's just not their cup of tea. And some people even enjoy bringing the arms up overhead. Again, something you could explore if you're so inclined. Every time I do this, I feel like Wesley and the Princess Bride when they put him on the machine that basically sucks the joy out of him. That's how I feel when I do this. I hope you don't feel that way. This should feel good, not like Wesley's life being sucked out of him. So finding your version of restorative bridge, if you took on a modification that's just not happening for you, just come back to the good old tried and true restorative bridge. So if you're staying in restorative bridge, just literally hang out. If you would like to explore a little bit of work in shoulder stand, inhale to prepare. Exhale, push your hips skyward, and then bring the block out from under you. If you're on the block, stay on the block. So when you're coming into shoulder stand, the backs of your upper arms are going to be on the floor, and that is where all of your weight is going to be. If your weight is coming onto your neck, you've moved your weight too far forward. So bring your feet, walk your feet up so that they're right below your bum. And then your hands can be on the floor. And we're going to use a rocking motion to bring the knees up overhead, and then walk your hands up your back. As you do that, make sure that your weight is staying on your upper arms. So again, if it's moving into your neck, bring it back. From here, you can extend the legs straight, or if you want, you don't have to extend them straight. You just can keep them bent, especially if this is something new in your practice. So keeping the weight on the upper arms. Stay for a breath or two. If you're in restorative bridge, a couple more breaths. If you're in shoulder stand, gently bring yourself out by lowering your hips down. Your knees, if you're like me, can come near your head. Gently lower down out of it. So we're all going to meet up in the same place. So if you're in passive bridge, inhale, get ready. On your exhale, push your hips skyward. Remove the block from underneath you. And exhale, bring the hips back down to the ground. And then we'll all windshield wiper the knees. Just releasing that work. And we'll take a nice reclining pigeon. So keeping the right foot planted exactly where it is. You're going to cross the left ankle just below the right knee. And you're going to keep that left foot really flexed. The left knee comes out to the side. So you're making a figure 4 with your legs. And the first option here for this hip opener is to stay exactly like this and just bring the block to the inside of the left knee and gently place your hand on it. That way you don't have to sort of lean out. Just gently place your hand on it, just gently opening the hip. So this is the first option. Second option is to use your hands or a strap around the right thigh and then draw the right thigh toward your torso. Make sure that this left foot stays super engaged. Okay, so peeling those toes back, it protects the left knee. So coming into reclining pigeon and just playing around. If you've got your thigh hugged in, just play around with how closely you want to hug it in. The closer you hug it in, the more intense the stretch is going to be in the outside of the left hip. And of course, paying attention to what the left toes are doing. The lower right leg can totally relax. So finding your way into it and then just breathing into it. So I like to picture that I have little lungs in my hips. I can just send my breath right into the hips. Staying for 3 more breaths. One more breath. And exhale. We will release that leg. We'll set up for the other side. So left foot is planted. Right ankle crosses just below the left knee. And again, the first option, bring the block to the inside of that right knee. Use the right hand to gently encourage the hip out. Other option is to use your strap or your hands behind the left thigh, drawing that left thigh in toward your torso. Let's make sure that those right toes are really actively peeled back to protect the right knee. And again, the lower left leg can totally relax and just play around with the pressure that you're using to draw your thigh in, or that you're resting with your hand against the knee. You know, it's really, sometimes you don't need much at all to have a really, really effective hip opening. You do not need to be a contortionist to develop healthy hip habits. So slowing the breath down, smoothing it out. Three more breaths. And on your exhale, if you have a hold of your thigh, release it, uncross the leg, and then just gently windshield wiper a couple of times. Nice loose hips now. So we're going to take a little bit of a variation on a spinal twist. So normally we would position ourselves on our back and then allow the legs to lean over. We're going to take it the other way this week. So I'll ask you to put your right arm up above your head, and then you're going to roll over onto your right side. From there, you can bring the right arm forward in front of you and bring your head to rest on the ground. So kind of like you might sleep when you're in bed. Bring your left arm out to meet your right. So like you're about to do the breaststroke. On an inhale, prepare. On an exhale, we're going to reach that left arm up and then open our chest toward the sky. So this is a very passive twist, but it's really very effective. If bringing the arm all the way over is a bit much, then you can just bring your arm onto your hip, just opening the chest toward the ceiling. Taking a few more slow breaths here. Last breath. And then we'll reach that left arm up and over again. So coming back onto the side and then gently rolling yourself to center slowly. And then we'll proceed over onto the left side. So like you're rolling over in bed. The left arm is going to be straight out in front of you. The right arm will join it. And then on your inhale, bring that right arm up overhead and exhale it out to the side. And your head can be straight up overhead. Coming into this nice passive twist. Again, if the arm out to the side isn't working for you, you can just bring that right arm onto the hip, slightly modifying. The thing that's nice about this twist is that you can be sure that the bottom shoulder is going to stay in full contact with your mat. Staying for 2 more breaths. And then on your inhale, bring that right arm up and over again. And then gently bring yourself back onto your back. Now at this point, I'm going to ask people, you have options. So as I said, you have the option to take legs up on the furniture or legs up on the wall. So I know when I use a chair or a couch, in either case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my hip either close to the furniture or close to the wall. I have to move stuff here. So I'm going to snug my hip right against the piece of furniture or the wall that I'm going to use. And then I'm going to lay back. I'm going to squinch my hip in if I need to. And then I'm going to bring my legs up and turn myself so that my legs are up the wall or up on my chair or couch. And you may need to wriggle your bum a little bit closer to the wall or a little bit more away from the wall. The idea is to get your legs up so that they can completely relax. And once you're there, just check in with the shoulders, the neck, make sure everything's feeling good. You can use a blanket under your hips for this as well. So if that would be helpful for you, if it's not just quite fitting the way you want it to, you could come out of your twist, fold up a blanket and put it under your hips and then come back. So your option is to stay here for the entire Shavasana, or perhaps you stay here for 5 or 10 breaths and then transition back to a more traditional Shavasana. Your choice, entirely up to you. So once you come to rest with your legs up, just take a few really nice big breaths. And any effort that you carried in your practice to this point, just imagine that effort sort of floating up out of your body and just allowing yourself to become very passive and soft. Let the furniture or the wall put the effort in. Just allow yourself to be passive and warm and melty. Again, you can tune into your breath, slow it down, smooth it out. Enjoy taking a rest here. Without worrying about what comes next, just allow yourself to enjoy the moment. For those of you that want to come out, I will cue you in a little bit. Otherwise, you can stay exactly as you are for a few more moments. So if your legs are up and you wish to transition to a more traditional Shavasana, you can bring yourself there now. If you're happy just as you are, continue on. If your legs are still in inversion, so up the wall or on a piece of furniture, you can gently begin to come out of that. And I generally like to bring my legs down to the right, allow my body to come onto my right side, and pause there for a couple of breaths before I attempt to go anywhere else at all. Really take your time. And I'll invite anyone who is resting on their back to also roll over onto the right side and to pause there for a few breaths. And then you can Gently begin moving and slowly begin bringing yourself back to an upward seated position. But take your time, go slowly. And once you bring yourself up to sit, you just take a comfortable seated position. Could be cross-legged or with the legs extended. Making sure that you're sitting nice and tall. Bring your hands to heart center. Take an inhale and then lower the chin. And I will leave you with this idea. The most beautiful things in life cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. And that's Helen Keller. Thank you for joining me for practice today. Namaste.